The Loneliest Creatures in the World by Touches Like the Sun, Part 5. Chuuya's hair is not too long after months, but long enough to be past his nape, and long enough for Dazai to sit at his back on the bed, brush out all of the knots, and gather it all up in his bandaged hands from his shoulders and neck. He divides his hair into 3 sections, twists them together into rhythmic patterns, making a braid that starts out thick and ends small. He brushes the sides of Chuuya's hair back, tucks the strands of hair behind his ear, and leaves it at the top of his spine. "What did you do to my hair?" Chuuya asks curiously, touching it and running his fingers over. "It's comfortable, isn't it?" He learned to braid on ropes when he was bored once, seeing a mother do it to her young daughter. It's one of Dazai's many useless talents. But Chuuya's hair is pretty, all curls and red like fire in autumn. It makes a nice braid, though it's turned out to be messy. A few strands escaping and singularly alight in the golden light of the wall scones. He supposes that useless talent finally came to use. Chuuya should stop shedding his hair so much. I know it's natural for dogs, but I keep finding his hair all over me. Dazai pushes the braid over into Chuuya's shoulder, away from his neck. At the nape of his neck, where his hair is no longer hiding, Dazai sees them again, the branded scars of those numbers, A5158. When Dazai first brushed his fingers on those branded numbers, curiously an hour after he found him, Chuuya jerked away from him and scrambled into a corner, glaring at him with angry and betrayed eyes. He was shaking. When he came to his senses, he seemed confused by his own reaction. Dazai wonders if Chuuya trusts him enough now, if he would let him touch them. His fingers hover over them. "I don't think I existed," Chuuya had said. Dazai thinks about the way he spun around in the air with joy upon hearing his own name being said, the way he beamed at him. "What are these numbers?" Dazai whispers, despite having a rather good idea. "On the back of your neck." It wouldn't surprise him that they never graced Chuuya with the humanity and dignity of using his own name. All signs point to it. To this day, Chuuya loves the sound of his name in Dazai's voice. Chuuya doesn't seem to tense or get scared the way he did the first time. Dazai gets the strange thought of putting his lips to them, an innocent and chaste kiss, a healing kiss. It's an illogical thought. They are in his mind all the same. "I don't know," Chuuya says, his head bent down and forward, a show of trust that's beyond Dazai's comprehension. "I think it was my lab number. I don't remember. I just know that I don't like it being touched, or remembering it's there. I don't even like seeing it because it hurts. But I can't remember anything, why it makes me feel like that." Dazai has an idea brewing in his mind. A certain neck accessory he's seen on display. His fingers touch the space below it, before he pulls Chuuya's braid back over so it covers, and brushes his hands over his shoulders. In the bedroom, there is a whole stack of films. Chuuya has only seen a TV in passing, in the windows of shops playing music, videos, and films. This will be the first time they watch one properly together. Dazai always predicts almost everything before the movie even starts, really, which is why he prefers emotional and people-centered films. Ironic, considering how unfeeling and antisocial and solitary he otherwise is, as well as comedies more than mystery and thrillers. So he hopes Chuuya chooses something like that. Because I'm feeling oh so generous, and because it's Chuuya's very first movie, I will let him choose what to watch. Dazai spreads out the stack of DVDs for him to choose from. Chuuya leans over them and looks at them all curiously, hand hovering over all of them. He should have known, in hindsight. Dazai sighs in disgust. It's a movie about a dog. Dazai already knows what happens at the end of it, and Chuuya's not going to like it, and, well, Dazai really doesn't want to be dealing with a crying chibi for his first movie ever. And Dazai's first movie ever with someone with said crying chibi. He's watched a lot of movies in theater alone, in the very back of the seats of the cinema that was almost empty or with very few other people, Sometimes it was the only thing that kept him alive a little while longer. Not because any of it was that good, but because he could lose himself in it enough to forget that he wanted to die. Watching with exhaustion, bruised and hollow, and sometimes distinct eyes that haven't slept in days. Eating popcorn bought with pickpocketed money with heavy hands mindlessly. Right now this feels different, a bit more exciting with the chibi. Maybe something happier. Chuuya frowns. Looks happy enough to me. It's about a dog, right? Trust me, pick something else. Chuuya blinks, but turns back to his options and picks something else. It turns out to be a cheesy romantic movie, and when Chuuya sees the couple cuddling while watching a movie, it seems to give him the idea that he can scoot over and lay his head up against Dazai's shoulder to cuddle with him too. They kiss on screen after, and Dazai feels warm all over his face and neck when he senses Chuuya's eyes drift to him curiously. Dazai adamantly keeps staring at the screen, almost unblinking, and wonders if Chuuya is thinking about doing it with him. Dazai sees the man rub circles over the girl's shoulders as he holds her. He doesn't know what it is really supposed to do, but he finds himself strangely fascinated by the small gesture, watching it closely. He glances down at Chuuya, back up at the screen, still thinking about it long after it's passed. He waits a few moments before he tentatively puts his arm around Chuuya's shoulders and starts to circle his thumb onto his skin. Whatever it is that does, Chuuya seems to like it. He burrows closer into him and sighs, so Dazai keeps doing it. He makes notes of a few more things that catch his attention, like when the male lead plays with her hair, strokes it gently, runs them through it as he kisses her. Dazai is already planning out when he would do the hair thing with Chuuya. Maybe in a bed at night, before they sleep, or maybe after Chuuya has slept if Dazai doesn't want to be perceived doing it, or maybe when Dazai braids his hair again, if he feels bold enough. Dazai doesn't know how they get to dancing by the dining table. Maybe it started when Chuuya saw the couple dancing in the film, and it's been on his mind since. They are eating pasta with canned crab for breakfast, about all that Dazai knows how to make. And there's music playing from the counter because it seems Chuuya likes it too much. And then there's a song that Chuuya seems to particularly like. Now Dazai is being forced to stand up to his feet, much less enthused due to not being a morning person. Silly Chuuya, I told you I don't want to. Dazai whines, bouncing on his feet like a child. Chuuya's fingers are gripping his sleeve and dragging his body, moving along half-heartedly. It's too early in the morning for this. I want to know what it's like, Chuuya insists. They look like they were having fun. Chuuya takes his hands and pulls him onto the christened dance floor that is the kitchen/dining room. And he doesn't know how to dance. It's clear. He's just trying to mimic whatever he's seen in the film as he's bouncing around to the beat of the music while holding Dazai's hands, feeling the song with his face in a bright, ecstatic expression. His eyes closed and his head tilted back in the morning sunlight, where it pours between the translucent curtains on the kitchen window. He takes in experiences in life the way he takes in sunshine, or feels the rain on his skin. Dazai doesn't plan on complying to the chibi's demands, and the chibi is clearly more energetic and enthusiastic about this than he is. But still, he dances with Chuuya in small ways that indulge him, rocks him along gently to his movements, twirls him around under the hand holding his, gaze roving closely over his face and following his eyes along the sways of Chuuya's head, and the smallest imperceptible tug at the corner of his mouth, only touching the wrinkle in the corner of his own eyes. They feel as tender as bruises as they watch him, soak up the joy in his face, how it radiates off his every move. Summer is coming around, and the owners would likely return eventually to the vacation house, so Dazai puts everything exactly as he memorized it when they came in. He knows it's unlikely that they'd even remember, but one never knows. It's back to the heart of Yokohama City on train rides. They make it back and go back to their old warehouse, because it's unlikely they would come looking for Chuuya here again after months of not finding him. Passing by the window, Dazai sees a music box, hands in his pockets as his own reflection on the glass stares back at him. He stands there for a little while, staring at the music box. Chuuya has stopped beside him and is looking between him and that box. A long time ago, before Chuuya knew it wasn't how the world worked, when Chuuya noticed him staring at another music box in another shop. Assuming Dazai wanted it, he put his fingers to the glass and vibrated it until it shattered, to the scream of many around them, so he could reach in for the box and give it to Dazai. Before he could do any of that, though, Dazai had caught his wrist and quickly dragged him away to whispers and scared voices talking behind them in chorus. It was hilarious, of course, but really bad since they were trying not to bring attention to themselves and be on the radar of anyone wanting Chuuya. Dazai doesn't stare at music boxes because he wants them. "Let's go, Chibi," Dazai says, tearing his eyes away and walking past Chuuya. "I have a plan for us." The aforementioned plan is an art museum. Like with cinema halls, Dazai comes here to try and forget. There's a lot of art that doesn't speak to Dazai much, but when he first came here, wondering, bored out of his mind and not expecting to find anything he liked, he was surprised to find paintings that he did vaguely like. Paintings with beauty, paintings with meaning, paintings about life and death. It wasn't captivating necessarily, but on some days when he wanted to die, he would come here and take in every little detail, interpret every possible meaning, and stall against his urges to search for a small reason to continue on, even if just for a while. Perhaps gain a perspective, or understand something that lasts him another day, or find something he was curious enough about to go to the library and learn more on it. "Tell me what paintings stand out to Chuuya, and I'll tell him all about it." That is how their hours go by. Chuuya points out paintings, standing in front of one with his fingers curled into Dazai's sleeve. Dazai knows the art in the museum by heart at this point. Excellent memory as well as frequent visits. They can hear the laughter and noise the moment they enter the Carnival fair. In the night, the pale moon above them, the view is stunning. Full of bright and vivid lights of all colors, the Ferris wheel that stands tall above them. There are many people, a lot of noise, but it's not congested. Still a vast and open space, so Chuuya seems fine. Still, Dazai keeps an eye on him, ready to take him away whenever there's the slightest hint of overstimulation. At the moment, though, Chuuya seems to just be taking in most of what's happening around him with wonder. The day is fun. Dazai laughs when Chuuya breaks the strength tester game, using gravity as he brings the hammer down, and the puck shoots through rapidly, and now there's a huge crack where it struck. They eat cotton candy on the beaches, and ice cream that's melting already in the summer heat, staved off by the night breezes. They play a few carnival games here and there. Chuuya's attention is pulled by the screaming coming from one of the roller coasters. Dazai snickers. "I bet Chuuya's too short for those rides." "Don't be a dick," Chuuya says, staring up at the ride. "So, you want to go?" "Absolutely not." "I'm serious though, Chibi. There is really a height limit, and you're only just 2 feet tall." Chuuya glances at the height limit board. His eyes widen. "Seriously? That's more than double my height." Dazai should have expected this, considering they hadn't yet touched on the topic of length and distance in mathematics. Hadn't really gone beyond basic arithmetic yet. Really, but it's also because Dazai never bothered to comprehend maths beyond what was necessary for everyday life. But still, he laughs, folding over with his hands still in his pockets. "What? Hey, asshole! What are you laughing at?" Chuuya crosses his arms with a scowl, like an angry little puppy, really. "Well, how tall am I then? Seriously, 'cause I want to go on that." He points to the roller coaster. The worst one of all, in Dazai's opinion. When they go up to the board that measures the height, Dazai perhaps absurdly hopes Chuuya doesn't meet the requirement, because he can't exactly stop, nor does he necessarily want to stop Chuuya from experiencing this. But if Chuuya goes, then Dazai will have to go as well, considering Chuuya's ability is unpredictable still. And he is prone to breaking things if scared and unnullified, and Dazai doesn't really know how exactly Chuuya will feel about being on that roller coaster. They don't need Chuuya to break the roller coaster and kill a lot of people, then attracting the attention of the government anymore. Unfortunately, he does fit the requirement. Turns out Chuuya is perfectly fine. He laughs through his screams, and Dazai is just holding onto Chuuya's wrist and to the restraints for dear life. Dying on a roller coaster is just not a good way to die, in his opinion. Tensed and frankly terrified, his grip no longer about nullifying Chuuya after a certain point. He might have just passed out once. He definitely throws up into a bush after. Shit, Chuuya says, rubbing his back the way Dazai did for him through his many fevers during the recovery period. Why didn't you tell me it'd make you sick? I could have gone alone. Unpredictable, with your ability. Dazai manages through his heaves. We could have skipped then. Dazai will never tell him the reason why they didn't. It's embarrassing, honestly. This pathetic desire to make sure Chuuya experiences everything he wants in life. I want to give you everything, Dazai thinks in a voice so quiet he could deny the existence of such a thought if he wanted, as Chuuya stares back at him with terrible worry and guilt. Now that Dazai has seen that he's fine, it's easier to let Chuuya experience the roller coasters by himself while Dazai rides on the carousel alone. He's done it many times. There's something about the gentle up and down sway of it that's calming, that lets his thoughts run in easy waves, even if his thoughts are not so kind. He is thinking about this day, and the feelings that come with it. Chuuya's there, climbing onto the bench next to him, after a while. Dazai usually prefers the horses, but he supposes he predicted Chuuya would join him soon. Hey. Hi, did Chuuya experience all the rides? I ran out of money. Dazai snickers. Still, he did pickpocket and steal a good amount for this, so he'd sure Chuuya got to experience plenty. What are you thinking? You look sad. I'm not sad, Chibi. It's called having thoughts. I'm sure it's a foreign concept to you. Why are you sad? It seems, unfortunately, that Chuuya has learned to read him more than he should, especially a chibi that's only just started to learn about people in the world. Dazai lets the silence fall over them, but for the sounds of the movements of the carousel. The music, a child's laughter from nearby. Does Chuuya know it's my birthday? Dazai asks, smiling slightly as he looks at him. He makes it seem like a different topic, a lighter one. In truth, it's the answer to Chuuya's questions. Chuuya blinks, surprised, then scowls and reaches over to smack him, nearly making Dazai slip. Ow! Dazai yelps. Why didn't you fucking tell me? Because I don't care about it? Why would you bring it up if you didn't? Chuuya asks. Well, Chuuya's getting uncomfortably smart about these things, though Dazai doesn't know how to tell him he doesn't quite care in the way he thinks. My birth was a mistake. It's good, isn't it, that it's your birthday? Dazai hums, non-committal. He doesn't really mean to talk about it. He doesn't plan on it, but all these thoughts and all these feelings, sometimes they want to burst out of him. When the lifelong numbness subsides, when the void isn't eating them all up instead. He has been feeling this way more and more since Chuuya. I wish I wasn't born, Dazai says quietly. Almost hopes Chuuya didn't hear him over the carousel's whirs and thuds and music. But Chuuya's right next to him. The silence is long as a breeze blows through Dazai's hair and clothes. He doesn't look at Chuuya. He supposes Chuuya didn't hear him, as he wanted. But then, why? It's almost a full whisper, full of confusion, bewilderment, and maybe even fear. Chuuya knows so little about the world, Dazai wonders if it has even occurred to him that not everyone lives with the zest and joy he does. Not everyone is as bright as him. Not everyone wants to live. How does Dazai explain that he has wanted to die all of his life? But one glance at Chuuya, his hands clinging to the rope of the carousel, as he stares back at him with wide, torn eyes. And Dazai decides, what's the point? Why put such darkness in those beautiful eyes so soon? Well, there's nothing to do about it now, is there? I'm still here. Nothing to worry about. Dazai's voice lilts, a sing-song in his last words. Chuuya doesn't seem to know what to say. His eyes flicker away, hesitantly down. Does Chuuya remember his birthday? Dazai asks to change the topic and take Chuuya's mind away. Still, the earlier emotions linger on Chuuya's eyes. He doesn't look up. No. Dazai wondered if Chuuya might remember his birthday at least, the way he did his name. How unfortunate. He can tell it matters to Chuuya, the frown that's pinching between his brows. He knows it hurts Chuuya, that he doesn't know anything about his life or who he is, or where he came from. Why wouldn't he? How does one feel human if they aren't tethered to anything, if they know nothing about who they are? But to him, Chuuya is the most human thing he has ever seen, the liveliest. We'll find it out someday, Chuuya's birthday, Dazai tells him. He doesn't look at Chuuya, but he can see Chuuya's head rise at him in his peripheral vision, his eyes burning on the side of his face. I'll help Chuuya find out who he is. There are ways. It would have to be thoroughly well planned, of course, and it would take months or even years. Breaking into the facilities that hold such information is no easy feat. But Dazai is Dazai, and there are ways. The wind plays up faster, Dazai's hair tousling up and in his eyes. Still, Chuuya's eyes are on the side of his face. Dazai doesn't know what the expression is he must have. He wouldn't see the minuscule smile growing hushedly on Chuuya's lips. Osama? I'm glad you were born. Happy birthday. It shouldn't matter to Dazai. He doesn't care about birthdays. He doesn't care if he matters to anyone either. But the wind burns in his eyes, and he stares ahead. He says nothing. The carousel keeps turning. Their last ride is on the Ferris wheel, which is spent mostly in silence. Both of them are tired. Chuuya watches the city and the carnival from the peak point of the wheel when they stop at the very top for only a few seconds. The rest of the time he is looking at Dazai. Dazai's eyes are unseeing out the window, ignoring him. November has come, with the beginning of chills of winter passing over the city. Dazai's been thinking about music boxes a lot these last days. He thinks a lot about one music box in particular. Sometimes he thinks about going back to find it. Sometimes he thinks about going back. He doesn't know why. There's nothing there for him to go back to, but there's nothing much for him to do. Life is boring, so he thinks, why not? I might as well. Where are we going? I just need to take something back. From where? Does Chuuya want to come or not? When Dazai was born, he was still. He didn't cry. They had to bring him back to life. To this day, Dazai wishes they didn't. It was a servant, Asuka, back in his childhood manor that told him this. She was a kind old lady, passed away not long before Dazai packed his bags and ran away from home. He stands in his childhood manor again, in the large doors. It's night, so there are no servants wandering about. It's as vast and hollow and haunting as he remembered it to be. The manor is sleeping and dark. Chuuya trails behind him silently, and Dazai makes his way up the long, winding stairs, to the left, 3 doors down, into his old childhood room. He can feel Chuuya's eyes burning on his back. He can feel him there, and that's what makes this suffocating weight of the house's air bearable. As he expected, the room is bare and empty. All of his things have been thrown out. It doesn't mean anything to him, he thinks. Tells himself. It doesn't mean anything. Not that he supposes he left much behind in the first place. When Dazai lived here, he lived not unlike a stranger, with nothing of his own to fill his room, with only scripted and polite formalities. He only saw his mother properly at the dinner table. His father only spoke to him when he was drunk and screaming. Dazai goes to the corner of a room, to a loose wooden plank. He unscrews it with a small screwdriver in his pocket, lifts the plank and takes out the music box inside. When he lifts the lid, there's a pair in a dancing position, a mother and son. They're both still, now, and the music doesn't play. It had stopped working after all these years, obviously. Is that what you came here for? Dazai says, holding the music box in his lap. He reaches into his pocket and takes out the batteries. Why is it so important to you? Is that why you're always staring at them in the shops? It's not important to me, Dazai tells him, clearing the dust delicately with his hands before taking out the old batteries and putting the new ones in. Then why come all the way here to get it? I was bored, Dazai says with a shrug, and it's a nice music box. He puts it on his lap and watches the pair begin to spin, the music twinkling sweet and gentle. What is this place anyway? This is where I lived as a child. There's a very long pause. Oh. He sounds breathless. There's another long pause. That's important, yeah? Chuuya, who did not really come from anywhere, or at least he can't remember where he came from. One would think he does not quite understand the weight of this, but he does, perhaps more than anyone. This is the only thing my mother ever gave to me, Dazai tells him quietly. You were so small, I bet you don't even remember it, Asuka once whispered to him, smiling as she closed his small fingers around the box. I was there when your mother gave this to you. You were her whole world. Once was the unspoken word. His mother's face, whenever Dazai imagines it, is always cold now. He used to stand in her doorway, sleep outside her locked room with this music box, waiting to be her whole world again. But, oh, she grew so ill and so sad. She stopped feeling joy, I believe. It was pathetic. It's still pathetic. Chuuya comes and sits down beside him, crossing his legs. Okay, is all he says. The music tinkles for a while. They watch it spin together. Why don't you live here anymore? Chuuya asks. Dazai doesn't know how to answer it. I don't know what I was living here for. I don't know what I was living for. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was drowning. Let's go, Dazai says, standing to his feet, closing the box, before anyone sees us. He's glad Chuuya doesn't ask anymore, just stands up beside him too and follows him out. They're standing at the bottom of the stairs when Dazai hears it. The pads of footsteps down the stairs, the sudden pause. When Dazai turns, it's the frozen eyes staring back at him. They're the same eyes he sees in the mirror. It's funny, really, when she asks, Who are you? People said that Dazai was all her. He remembers she did not like hearing that. Dazai smiles. It's not quite pleasant. Hello, Mother.